Hello and welcome, I am Chris Hall and this is Hall's Variety Pack Off the Record. Or at least it would be. You see, the whole thing, this whole little YouTube experience has gone through a little bit of a regeneration since we last met. Yes, at last, after 6 weeks, I finally found and figured out a great name for this. Or at least a name that is sufficient. From now on, this is no longer Hall's Variety Pack, Off the Record, Doctor Who, whatever episode it is. This is now the Timeshift. I spent literally ages coming up with that one, and I finally figured it out. And as far as I'm concerned, it's great, and we're sticking with it for the duration. I would have liked to have used the name WhoCast, but seeing as everyone and their dog who's making these kind of Doctor Who little video things is using the term WhoCast, I've decided to be a little bit more original. Now, I should say here and now, before we get into the nitty-gritty of this little review critique thing, there will be spoilers a go-go. So if you do not want this week's episode spoiled for you in any way, shape or form, then probably it is best that you go and watch some other video on YouTube here, if this is of course you're watching on YouTube. If you are, there's probably loads of wonderful videos made by some very wonderful, brilliant people. Go watch one of theirs, or maybe one of mine. I'll probably have a new video review up, maybe. It's been nearly a month since I last did one, so I should probably get onto that. I'll probably get onto it a little bit after this shortly. So, basic plot synopsis of this week's episode is: the Doctor detects some strange phenomena on the Coal Hill high school, so he goes to investigate it. Of course, this comes after a very hilarious and wonderful little montage of the Doctor and Clara having some wacky adventures, which are in no way more interesting than this week's episode. And mixed in with that, you can see Clara having some wacky fun time with Mr. Pink, but not in a sexual way. I mean, in terms of dating and them having little bits of misunderstanding, like, they had an adventure with fish people and she's all wet and she has a bit of seaweed. How whimsical. Of course, like I say, not everything is all rather grrr. As it turns out, there's a mysterious robot thing lurking in the shadows. One of the most deadly robots in existence is stalking the Coal Hill-ish area and is poised to possibly destroy the entire population of the world should it escape. So the Doctor is well armed, or as close to well armed as a pacifist can be, to try and stop it and to save the day and to make Christmas magical and stuff. He decides to disguise himself as the caretaker for Coal Hill and use that area as a booby trap thingy, and things happen that I won't mention now because maybe you're listening to this as part of some kind of weird automated playlist thing and it's only now you've realised it. And yes, I'm going to talk about the main bit of the episode, so spoilers are about to come through. So that is the plot synopsis out of the way. Let us talk about the episode itself. As you can tell by some of the flippancy and some of the snideness that I had in the little this bit ramble, I didn't particularly like this week's episode. That's not to say I hated it. No, the worst episode for me by far is still the opening episode to this series. Of course, it may be different. You may well have hated this episode. You may have loved this episode. Whichever it is, then by all means, leave a comment on whichever web portal it is that you're viewing this in. Leave a little message and maybe comment. Say something. Ask me a question, whichever it may be, then just leave a little note and I will probably get back to you in next week's time shift. As well, this one I feel may be a little bit shorter. Of course, I said that last week and it was about the same length. Because, well, this week's episode I did not like and it was rather bland and tasteless, much like last week's episode, so there's not really a great deal that I can really go to town on. It wasn't a wonderfully fantastic episode that I can beam about and say how wonderful and fantastic Stephen Moffat is as a writer, nor is it a terribly terrible one in which I can say just how much Stephen Moffat is an absolute fucking hack. So, we might as well attack the episode itself. Problems I had with it were the fact that, well, for a start, our big evil killing machine isn't really evil. Once again, we're up against a bad guy monster thingy who isn't itself evil or really a bad guy. It's just a robot that's programmed to kill stuff and it's managed to find its way to Earth. And yes, that's a big disastrous thing, because this is one of the most deadly killing machines in the universe, and it could quite easily destroy the entire population of planet Earth, every single living thing, without much effort. Though with that said, it's not really easy to take that kind of thing as being threatening, as it is in itself, like I say, not inherently evil. Like last week we had Miss Lady ginger-haired woman with the glasses, who herself wasn't necessarily evil. She was just the person in charge of the bank, and the doctor's breaking into the bank, so she has to stop them because that's her job. And of course the purple people eater eye stalky monster isn't himself evil, he's just being manipulated. And of course a few weeks ago we had the cyborg man with half the face, who himself once again was not evil, was just trying to repair his ship. I dare say there's probably only really been 2 instances in this entire series where we've had a genuine bad guy with a genuine motivation. This week, once again, no motivation, just, it's a killing machine, and killing things is bad, so we have to stop it from killing everything. Even though, once again, this is the most deadly killing machine in the universe, and yet it only manages to kill 1 person, an extra. Yay! So fantastic, the most deadly thing in the universe, and it only kills 1 person. Surely, when the Doctor was leading it from its little lair over to Coal Hill, at some point or another, maybe it would have got distracted and possibly killed someone or opened fire on someone. I mean, granted, I'm not really up on the geography of that particular part of the world, but Coal Hill and this little deserted building in the middle of town or city, wherever it is, maybe a bit of a distance. I mean, did no one else notice this big Mass Effect looking robot monster thing clippy-clopping along? And maybe one of them may have pointed it out and said, "Oh, crikey jumbo, look at that," and because the robot is broken, it may have seen that, "Oh, crikey jumbo, what's that thing?" as a threat, and probably shot them. Probably not, because it wasn't covered or discussed. So yep, most deadly killing machine in the universe, and it killed 1 person. Not to say that I wanted it to go on a killing spree, and think more that it's once again one of those instances where you have to take the Doctor's word for it being the most deadly, or one of the most deadly killing machines in the universe. Fantastico! Well, apart from that, and the fact that we have a bad guy whom we cannot hate or really despise because it's just doing what it does, man, we also have the issue that this is an episode which, for me at least, felt a little bit too Grange Hill. It felt a little bit too much like a CBBC drama thing. I kind of feel that it lingered a little bit too much in the teachery kind of world of Coal Hill. Which, yes, it's an episode set in a school in which the Doctor is undercover, so yeah, we're naturally going to have the wonderful, hilarious parents' evening moment, but still, I kind of wish there was a little bit more science fiction in, this science fiction programme, because bemoaning the lack of science fiction in Doctor Who is a little bit of a lost cause at this point in particular. Blimey, Charlie. This is an episode that, yes, I didn't like it. I at least enjoyed it more than last week's, as at least there was a little bit of jeopardy to it, because this monster robot thing is a killing machine, and it could, at least the Doctor says, kill everything on the planet. So at least there is some jeopardy there, and we do see it kill an extra. Actually, no, scratch it. If it killed an extra, it doesn't really mean anything. If it killed a named character, at least, yay! That's something that we can at least feel at all threatened by, but it doesn't really. Look at my notes now. Oh yes! The wonderful, the oh so wonderful Doctor hating soldiers thing. Wow wow wee wow 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 wum, blimey Charlie. And I thought the lizard lady and annoying Cockney one from episode 1 felt incredibly forced. Jesus titty fucking Christ. The Doctor's hatred of soldiers at this point just borders the absolute farcical. It's almost as if it's almost as if there's absolutely no subtlety to it, but there isn't any subtlety to it. It's just the Doctor literally saying, "I hate soldiers. Soldiers are very mean. They're very dumb people. They just go around killing things. Yes, that's what I've been doing for the past 50 years or so, going around killing things. But still, grr, soldiers. Grr." Sorry to all the Scottish people watching this, but still, oh my word! Every other word that seemed to come out of his mouth when he's near Mr. Pink seems to be just how much he hates soldiers and such like. I mean, yes, we could easily tell the moment there was going to be some kind of friction between Mr. Pink and the Doctor the moment that he said to Clara that he used to be a soldier. Then we knew, oh my god, when these two meet, sparks are going to fly. We didn't need the fact that the Doctor hates soldiers driven home to us so much, because we know that he hasn't got a fondness of soldiers. Because he's the Doctor, he prefers to do things in a very more pacifistic way, even if that pacifistic way tends to result in more people getting killed than would otherwise be possible. But still, like I say, every single conversation on the subject of Mr. Pink, or in the general vicinity of Mr. Pink, seems to be about how much he hates soldiers. And yes, they're setting this up so that there will be friction, that we will know that there will be friction between the two of them, because God Almighty, well, just think about it. Had they not spent all this time going on about how much the Doctor hates soldiers, it might have gone over our heads. We may ourselves, the audience, never have thought, oh my word, the Doctor, I'm a soldier, ooh, something's going to happen here. But no, thankfully we have Stephen Moffat reminding us that the Doctor doesn't hate soldiers every single line. Good God, Look, I mentioned this previously in the first episode of this thingy, that I really hate it when writers talk to the audience as if they're stupid. We get it, okay? We get that Doctor doesn't like soldiers. We get that there's going to be some friction between the two of them. That is self-evident. We don't need it laboured, for crying out loud. Give us a little bit of respect here, please, Mr. Moffat. Good grief. I know this is supposed to be a kid's show and everything, but still, kids aren't that dumb. They're going to go, the Doctor seems a really wizard guy, but he doesn't really kill folk, does he? And this Mr. Pink guy, he's a soldier. Soldiers are supposed to kill people, aren't they? I can see some kind of a to-do happening here. Gee willikers, Mr. Man. Because that's what would happen. Granted, they're not going to speak as if they're from the 1920s, but still, at least be able to put it together in their head. There was a moment in this episode as well, well as the more annoying bits, there was a rather silly bit, which was when Mr. Pink jumped over the Garrus-looking robot thing that looked like it was from Mass Effect. He just runs along, does a backflip, and lands on the other side of the robot monster. So not only was he once a soldier, he was also a circus performer. Fantastic! Oh, good grief. At least in the episode Rose, when Rose did the swinging on the chains bit, not the Auton in the sentient intelligence thingy. At least then she said, I have no A-levels, I have no qualifications, but I do have a bronze medal in gymnastics. At least then they kind of justified it a little bit. It was painfully stupid, but they justified it. In this, he just kind of goes, oh, Doctor, look out. 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10 for gymnastics, everything else dumb as bricks. Oh, what else is there? Well, of course, we had already the flirtation of tension between the Doctor, well, not much temptation, and a full freaking argument in the TARDIS at one point between Mr. Pink and the Doctor. And this week's episode, the Doctor seemingly has gained 2 extra companions. Of course, Mr. Pink and the annoying one who's the disruptive influence, who was in pretty much, has been seen in almost every episode, I dare say, this series. She's the one with the stupid Mickey Mousey looking haircut, who in the first episode was in the little flashbacky bit where Clara was trying to hold her breath, and she said something like, I'm not listening to you, you're only a supply teacher. Of course, she's the one who introduced herself to this Doctor as being a disruptive influence, in case you have seen the episode. But chances are, if you're going to watch next week's episode, you know who it is, because it's the little kid you've not seen before, otherwise, who's really... Just look for the short one. Just look for the short one with the stupid haircut. And the school uniform on, no doubt, because they'll probably take it straight from school. I mean, why the hell not? Oh, dearie me. And of course, next week's episode seems to be, oh, the Doctor's going to have to make a really difficult decision. Someone's going to have to make the ultimate sacrifice. I bet you it's going to be that little girl that's going to cark it. It will be her, because let's look at who it could be. It's not going to be the Doctor, because it's not going to be the Doctor. The Doctor isn't going to make the ultimate sacrifice, because we've only just got a Doctor, and usually whenever a Doctor leaves, we have this stupid circus, and the whole media thing of who's going to play the Doctor? Will it be a woman? Will it be someone who's black? Who will it be? Who knows? We're going to speculate it for the next 8 months, and it turned out to be someone you've either never heard of or probably wish it wasn't. Yay! As has been the case in the past. So it's not going to be the Doctor, and of course we're mid-series, so the Doctor isn't going to die. So it's either going to be Clara. Yeah, right. Because if Clara goes, then Mr. Pink goes, and little girl goes, which means the Doctor's going to be all on his own. So it's not really going to be Clara. So then we've got Mr. Pink or the little girl. Mr. Pink, who we have had established pretty much every episode this series has made an appearance. So has the little girl, at least we forget. But out of the two, only one of them is really a properly established character. That'd be Mr. Pink. We spent plenty enough time with him. We get a basic idea of how he thinks and his personality, his history and who he is. The little girl, not really. I mean, I don't even know her name. That's why I'm referring to her as the little girl. And of course, out of the two of them, it probably would make more dramatic sense for it to be the little girl, so everyone could go, "Oh my God, a little child died in Doctor Who, how tragic. Oh, this program's not meant for children anymore. What a big dramatic moment, showing the Doctor having to let a little girl die." And no doubt that would be a big moment when they get their next television BAFTA. Doctor Who, the programme that likes to kill kiddies. Yay! So probably it will be the little girl, because it's be the most dramatic option. And out of the three of them, if Clara dies, then we lose Mr. Pink and the little girl. If Mr. Pink dies, then we lose Clara and the little girl. If the little girl dies, then we'll keep Clara. Mr. Pink, maybe. But of course, the natural little girl will be dead, so she's not even included in it. So in that, if the little girl dies, we only lose 1.5 companions. So, not that I'm willing a little child to die or anything, but still, most likely will be her in the grand scheme of things. Oh dear, let's have a look at our notes. Is there anything else? Not really anything else, looking at my notes. So, as an overview of it, I'm not going to do a separate overview for it because, well, once again, this week's episode should be shorter. I say should be, actually probably not. Episode as a whole I kind of found a bit empty. It's an episode which is just setting up the next one in many regards, which of course all of them are in a way. So that's a stupid criticism. What can I say? It's a genuine criticism for it. It's dull. There's a very dull, uninteresting bad guy. The Doctor's hatred of soldiers is borderline farcical. Yes, the Peter Capaldi and Jenny Colburn's performances once again are fantastic, so I didn't really dwell on that. Mr. Pink, I still think he's a great character, and I really do hope that we see more of him as the series progresses. And of course, we have to remember that yes, next week a character is supposedly going to be killed off in a big dramatic way. The Promised Land in this series is a thing. So chances are, whoever it is, we'll see them in the Promised Land having a bit of a moment and a bit of a to-do, as has been the case for almost every other character thus far this series who has died. Yay! So, what else can we say about the episode other than the fact it's dull, a little bit plodding, a little bit too long in Grange Hill, Coal Hill or whatever. They had a monster which wasn't really threatening, so all in all, not that good. Bit dull, bit naff. Better than last week's, I'd have to say though. Better than last week's because at least it seemed to have something to do with the rest of the plot. At least we forget last week's episode, there was no mention of the Promised Land. There was no mention of the weird ghosty thing that we had in the episode Listen, so last week's episode just kind of stood on its own, and I'm kind of interested to see what exactly they managed to use to justify connecting to the Promised Land thing, if they do at all. You know, like a couple of series ago when we had the episode with the pirates on the spaceship, and then at the end of the series we saw the pirates again in a spaceship not speaking, because that meant they'd have to pay the actors even more money, just appearing like helping the Doctor kind of trap a spaceship or something like that. I don't honestly recall the exact details of it. It just shows what a great impact they had, these characters, on me. So next week's episode, looking forward to that. I am looking forward to that, it has to be said, because it's an episode which looks like it may actually have scary monsters in it. Yay! Big killer spiders! Yay! I can imagine lots of children going to bed after that with major nightmares, but of course I won't do because I'm a grown man and, well, I generally don't find Doctor Who scary. Though with that said, I've not really ever found it scary. Alright, maybe some of the older episodes, but recently, not at all. Of course, you have the big, oh, someone's gonna die, so I'm kind of more interested to just see how exactly they handle it. Chances are it'll be melodramatic and overblown and be exceedingly stupid, so yeah, great. Next week, roll on next week, because if nothing else, it'll be so unbelievably stupid and dumb, it gives me plenty to talk about. So that's pretty much it from me. If you have any comments of which you would like to say, then leave them in the comment section in whichever web portal that you're watching this on, and see you next week.